social contract theory places the responsibility on the state to provide, among other social services, the aspect of security. Last week, the country was shocked by the gruesome murder of the Honorable Minister of State for Labour, Honorable Engola George. But also in the same week, the country saw the murder of another private citizen and a media personality. Well, these two join a list of many other unresolved murders in this country. You remember the 2017 Abiriga, murder case, the Honorable Justice Joan Kagezi, among other, unresolved murders in this country. So the question is, how safe are citizens, and is the state performing or meeting its end of the bargain in terms of the social contract theory, and particularly the aspect of security? To put all this into perspective is a panel of immaculate senior citizens of this country that is now my honor to introduce to you. And in no particular order, a face you've seen on this show, a regular, and that is the UPC ideologue and media personality, Mr. Joseph Ochendo. Joseph, good to have you back.
It's good to be here, but it's extremely sad to be here at times when we're talking about death, tragedy, and it's 40 years of NRA, and we still talk about insecurity.
Yeah. Yeah, we shall look more into that. Next to Joseph is retired captain, flight captain Francis Babu. Well, he has so many titles, but we shall just call him an NRM
senior citizen is enough.
Senior citizen.
Good afternoon, all of us, all of you who are watching us, and we hope we've had a good day. Like my friend says, the 8 years of UPC did not have any insecurity. It was perfect. I would like to congratulate him for that.
Absolutely, perfectly, very different from
1962 to 1970, there was no insecurity.
No, actually, there was nothing. There was nothing seen like.
And even when the prime minister was shot in the teeth, it was not insecurity.
That was terror from the opposition. You don't know what Mr. Museveni will tell us about this one.
Gentlemen are getting this underway so quickly. But well, joining us as well is the spokesperson of the Kampala Metropolitan Police, and that is Luke Owesigire. Afande, thank you for sparing the time.
Thank you very much. I'm the deputy spokesperson for Kampala Metropolitan.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And next to myself is Aaron Kiza. Aaron Kiza is a renowned lawyer in Uganda. Aaron, thank you for making the time.
Welcome. I'm happy to be here. People should know also that I'm an environmentalist. Yes.
Well, thank you. Afande, for obvious reasons, we are discussing security and the safety of citizens. We have seen the country shocked by murder incidents and killings, either by motorbike assassins or, we have seen several cases. How is our safety and security looking like?
Well, like I've always informed you, the situation is, of course, people have a right to worry because that is a personal feeling. You cannot come and say that you shouldn't worry about this and that if the media keeps pumping you incidents of murder here and there on WhatsApp and everywhere. Of course, people get worried, and it is everyone's right to get worried that a renowned person was shot and killed gruesomely, and the police has actually not made any arrest of who actually did that. So the people have the right to worry. But I can say the situation, the security situation within the country is okay. However, like I said, people have their right to worry. I would actually personally advise them not to worry, that we are doing as much as possible to get on top of the situation by having the culprits arrested and brought to book. That is all I can tell members of the public.
Joseph, let me just borrow a phrase that he has just used. The security of the country is okay. Citizens shouldn't worry so much, and so much is being done to address the issues.
Actually, that's extraordinary from a good friend, Luke. But Luke has got a job to do. I must say, Luke, that I'm extremely concerned by the lack of clarity on the security situation in this country, and particularly in the capital. I would actually like to see a situation in which the Inspector General of Police come forward to address the question of insecurity in the country, particularly at Kampala. And in this very particular case, that the police lead, and it's important, it's good that you're here, lead on this rather than things that we get from the military, who happens to be people whose job it is to defend our national borders rather than to inspect potholes. I get concerned, though, when you seem to insinuate that is the media trying to report, is the fact that two prominent citizens of our country were killed, gruesomely, using firearms, within 1 week. So that is something which is very concerning. I think what we would like to know from the police is why it is the case that, for instance, there have been allegations, claims about the areas, locations where these things are happening. Seems to be one location. Is it coincidental? But most importantly, it's 1 week later. What is the state of the investigations? What does the police know, which within reason, beyond what they can divulge to us, the public, what so far, it is that they know to calm down the concerns of the citizens of Kampala. And number two, how many of these murders have taken place in Kampala, and how many of them have been resolved, before we are told that we can keep calm, everything is okay. We can talk about murders this year. We can talk about murders in the last year. We can talk about murders in the last 5 years. There is no reason why you cannot talk about murders since independence. The other day I was at a different television network. Captain Francis and I were having a chat, and a bit of a joke, including on air, quite rightly, what is it that happened in 1969? Let's contextualize. What were the circumstances of those killings that happened in 1969? What lessons have we learned? What is it that happened in 1966? What lessons have we learned? What is it that was happening at Kampala in the 70s, in Amin, during that brutal regime of Idi Amin? What lessons do we learn? NRA went to the bush, came in and said that they were very concerned about these things, about unlawful killings of people and by Hutu Bote, those things Museveni likes to use. He came in 40 years later, he said he demystified the guns. I can actually argue, Luke, why is it that we have away from the bodyguard, quite rightly, he was right to be armed, for argument's sake, and there's some concerns, again, we're having during break, that maybe others might raise. Why is it the case that we possibly seem to have too many arms in the hands of the population? Maybe it is time for the police to come and take a position and tell us how many people, how many guns are known to be missing, which are supposed to be in the police or military armory, how many guns are in the hands of people who are licensed, because there's important information at this time, Moses, how many people are licensed to hold guns, but they've not gone to Chankwanzi? How many people are licensed to hold guns, but they're not soldiers? Why do we necessarily have people who look after, a supermarket down the road to be armed? When the other day I was in Nairobi and Kenyan police officer mobilized and managing a rally only have police batons. These are the big issues that we need to talk about. Maybe it is time for us to begin to deconstruct the militarization of polity, the militarization of the state, the militarization of the communities, and indeed the militarization of, if you like, security. So if we're in a secure environment, and a civilian member of parliament feels that he's going to have 10 police officers guarding him or her. What is it? Is it iron sheets? What is it? What are they exactly hiding? Are we in a state of security or not? Citizens have got a right to be concerned. If it's the situation that a junior minister was telling another network the other day, Luke, and the last UPC government, I keep on saying this to contextualize, because we need a Uganda in which there is peace and guaranteed security for our citizenry, young guys, including yourself, with respect, Moses, a young, beautiful camera lady, and then the possibility that one I retired in Agongera. Many of these incidents, when they happen, they're tested up to the bottom line. I was saying the other day that a future UPC government in which I'm going to get involved, Luke, and I hope you'll be a police officer at the time, is one in which any death, even if it's a death at an ordinary dispensary, must be certified, meaning it has got to be investigated up to the extreme, meaning some nurse who is irresponsible and ensuring that there is a medical accident or medical negligence leading to a death is investigated thoroughly by the police. When I lived in exile, where Museveni and co pushed me, in Britain, when death occurs, and again we're chatting about suicide, maybe I'm saying too much on this. When death occurs, for instance, somebody dies, maybe heart attack or something in their own house, and they're found, a dead body is found. Yeah, police must come and certify that death and make sure that there is no foul. Police, by the way, police. So the family cannot come and pick the body. The body will not be buried or taken to the funeral services unless it has been established, to establish that the cause of death. So for us to have these murders day in and day out and week in and week out, Mr. Museveni comes, brings CCTV cameras, brings LDUs, brings mobilization of forces and things like that, and claims bigger the monies. There is a classified budget which is 4 times health and education possibly put together. There is something fundamentally wrong, and all these issues I'm raising are not for Luke, of course, but Luke represents the voice of the police. So I'm contextualizing this conversation. This is a national conversation that must be had. And finally, I want to say this, that it is urgent, Mr. Museveni, that the police are equipped. It is urgent that we return the burden of responsibility for our national internal security in the hands of the police, so that all these burdens become more for them rather than the several other policies which is created, including one for his family. It's urgent we do that. And so it's also urgent that police are sufficiently equipped, sufficiently trained, sufficiently remunerated, sufficiently housed. I was raising this on another network where you look at the conditions in which our police officers live are terrible. Same with the soldiers, meaning former security services who are consistent with the constitutional provisions that you lawyers would say. I think those are the areas where we need to go back to very, very quickly. Because why am I saying this? The killing, unfortunately, of Angola, allegations of welfare. I know the army seems to reject, but it seems to be quite clearly apparent. Now, it is not good enough that we can actually push some of these things aside and live in a situation in which after 40 years, we have much more of a militarized state. And as I said, a killing as a matter of formality in the streets of Kampala. Completely unacceptable. And by the way, we're joking in part with Captain Babu. What is happening, look, it never happened in the UPC government, not in Kampala. Even when Museveni was here in the bush, I'm not saying killings did not take place or death did not happen. But the magnitude and the manner in which it happens, including, unsettled cases, it did not happen. So for NRA after 40 years, there's no reason why it shouldn't happen like that.
Well, thank you. Captain, I want to bring you in right here. And the question that I want to pose to you is that program number 2 of the 10 points program of the NRM / NRA was around security. And, it was premised on the idea that the UPC government and other regimes before had failed to reign over the issue of insecurity. Now, so many years down the road, like he's saying, we still have this, or more or less of the same issues. We still have murders that cannot be, clearly traced, and all these things are happening in the country. I don't know, in your own words, has the NRM sufficiently managed to address the issue of insecurity?
Yeah, if you can sieve and push away, when you throw a lot of plastics in a lake, if you want to have the lake to be seen, you have to remove those plastics. After you remove all this propaganda and people spinning, we can get somewhere. The problem of Uganda did not start today after 40 years. The problem of Uganda started from the time we got independence. And never be told lies otherwise. So to blame game does not help. What we need to do is, first of all, what is security? Let's answer that question. I think a lot of people talk about security as if it is the policeman in the uniform and the man in the... No, security starts with you in your heart. You create security for yourself. And then you create a police to make sure that security is not hijacked. So when people talk about these things, they seem to jump the real meaning. The real meaning of security is a quality of or state of being secure, such as freedom from danger, safety, freedom from fear and anxiety, freedom from prospects of being laid off, a job security. These are all words describing the word security. Now, human beings are not made, they are not angels. Human beings have got good, ugly, and bad. So among our society, we have a group that is bad. The countries that we admire so much, even where my friend went to United Kingdom, when they used to have bad people in the olden days, they took them to Australia and took them to America, and that's why those two countries are violent, because all the violent white people were taken to those countries. So when you sit here and you start taking a small thing because you've had a problem with shooting a minister by his bodyguard, let's see how many people have been shot by their bodyguards, starting with Lincoln in the United States, coming down to Kabila. He was shot by his bodyguards. Let's take somebody else who was shot by the bodyguards. A man called Sadat was shot by his bodyguard. Bodyguards are armed, and bodyguards, if they become rogue, they can shoot you. Let's become a little bit more serious when we are reasoning these things. Let's stop spinning. Let's talk facts.
Okay, yes.
Let me come. It's very important that we get this. Now, there is no city in the world that does not have crime and does not have shootings. There isn't. If you give me one city where you only have angels, I'll be a very happy man. Every city and a place like New York and Chicago, they even have numbers per 1 minute, even reps per 1 minute. Crime. And there are types of crime. There's organized crime. These things are happening all over the world. So Uganda is in the global village. We are part of it. We have people among us who are very good. We have people among us who are not good. And we have to get people to help us to try and hold those people who are not good and investigate these bad people. Now, said and done, let us stop throwing blame. The problems of this country has grown from 9 million people we had at independence to 45 million now. The police we had at independence was so small. The police we have today is 43,000. The army is 46. Now let's remove this misconception that army and police must never be together. That's a lie. In 1948, when we had Namba Munana here, when Batakau had gone on strike, the British government brought the King African Rifles from Kenya. They came here and they put down that riot. King African Rifle, which was composed of African people. When they had problems in Karamoja, King African Rifles, led by none other than Amin, killed people. So military has not started now. Please.
So does that justify?
I'm coming. Take it easy. Calm down. You'll get the information. All international police in Britain, in America, when their men have come back from the army, most of them join their police. They are the best in their police. And they put them in the departments which fight crime at a higher level. So half of the people in their police and army and police in America are former army people. So there's nothing new there. When you take your best and you put them in the police, the only thing you should say, they must be trained, which I agree with, because there are certain things that they must be given. Remember, the military has military police. They work at a different level. So when we talk about these things, we should be very careful that we have militarized this country. The militarization of this country started in 1966 when the military attacked the Rubiri and killed people, 1,000 of them. When did they attack the people who were going to watch the lost counties? They shot people from Nankolabi all the way to Namungona. They did not start today. They surrounded the parliament. When they are doing the 1966 Pigeon Constitution, army surrounded. It was not police. So let us not talk about army and police starting today. It started a long time back. And it's been coming and coming. In 1969, the prime minister was shot. And they had to investigate. And they took their best to do that. Listen, When we talk about national security, we do not talk about the police only. National security combines everything in that area. Be it police, be it army, be it the prison. In Kenya, they have even a special one they created, yeah, GSU. When they tell you the GSU is coming in Nairobi, the city becomes empty. They know how they operate. So that's a paramilitary, worse than even what we're talking about here. And its job is to quell the citizens. So let us, when we're talking, let us come to the same level. It's unfortunate and very unfortunate to have any citizen killed in the fashion using bullets or killed because of one thing or the other. It's unfortunate. But let's not take it to be the whole nation. There are certain areas where they have, of course, attacked people. We know. There's some in Karamoja right now, we have a very big problem. Although they keep telling us there's cattle, but I think there's more than cattle. There's also some very rich things under their ground there. So we know about all this. So, and the people involved, are these organized crimes? Are these good or bad people of this country? Who are they? Now, we go to our police. Our police are human beings. They come from the reflection of our society. If you abuse the police, you first abuse yourself. One man asked a question, why is it that you don't send your children to the police? Why do you want others to send their children there? The police have human rights. And they have certain rules they go by. Have we respected them? I agree. We are not very rich. So they are having bad welfare, both in the army and in the police. That needs to be looked at seriously. And I'm happy when I see Naguru being transformed. I'm seeing them coming up with new offers to the police. They're even looking at their salary a little bit more seriously. But like the Uganda saying goes, omumpi wakoma wakwata. Our country has got a certain level. We want this police, even 43,000 are not good enough because that gives us one police to 1,000 people. We need more. We need about over 100,000 to look at 45 million people. So, a lot of things I hear, and I'm not happy about it, is that we every time put it to the police. The police, no. It is the whole society, the way we behave. The money we give to the policeman, or I get in salary, or he gets in salary, is not good if our economy is not good. The economy decides whether the money they are giving me has got value. So the first thing we have to do is to improve the economy. Now, when the economy is improved, when I started flying, I was paid more than even a civil servant. I was getting 1,400 shillings those days. And 200 shillings was enough to run my whole house and even pay school fees for my children. Now, today, you can't do that, can you? Simply because the money has deteriorated with inflation, with all sorts of things, to an extent that even the money they give as a salary, in the following year, even if they improve it 1 million or 2 million, next year it will not be sufficient if this inflation continues. So we need to look at what is causing the problem. Not wanting, it's not true. To me, 40 years, okay, I would have wanted a change. But 40 years, if the right things were done, I wouldn't mind. The problem is, if wrong things go, then they use the 40 years as an scapegoat. The whole point is this country, what do we require? We require all of us, including the leaders, including the president. Has the 40 years created a problem? Can we find a solution to it? Can we find a dialogue and talk about it? Is it the 40 years or is it us, the people? So these are the kind of things we need to look at and stop thinking that somebody will come here and change, like these people who are going to Europe and kneeling before European, come and help us in Uganda. There's a man called Museveni, he has become a dictator. They go to America, they pray. How? America, what human rights does America have? What have they done in Libya? What did they do in Iraq? What have they done in Afghanistan? What have they done in Yemen? Please, let us come back to our country. We have problems. We should find solutions to those problems. I agree. There are a few problems that need to be quickly looked at, and we find solutions to those problems. The policeman is not the problem. In fact, we need to make him feel that he's with us, not to make him feel he's our enemy. But the people here want to make a policeman their enemy. I want to tell you something. If you could tell us, in all these encounters between the police and the people who are holding demonstrations, where it started and how they reached to arrest them, you'll be very surprised. These policemen take a lot of crap from a lot of people.
Interesting. Councillor Kiza, of course, your comments regarding the state of security or insecurity in this country, but precisely you could help us speak about the capacity of, for example, the DPP to prosecute, but also the police to investigate, because all these are what you'd call statutory, institutions. So is it a question of their capacity to perform their legal obligations?
Yeah, but I would want to first clear
Of course, your
the
general
notion
comments as
that
well.
somehow police deserve flowers for harassing Ugandans who peacefully demonstrate on the streets of Kampala or elsewhere. The right to peacefully demonstrate is anchored in our constitution in black and white, and it is a fundamental human right that people are born with, and not a largesse from NRM regime. That cleared. And people who come to disperse demonstrations, whether they are policemen or criminal gangs connected to police, take the responsibility for the chaos that results ordinarily. So there is no point someone should move from CPS, Naguru, wherever, that their job is to implement an illegal order to quell a peaceful demonstration, whether it's by a member of parliament or a farmer from Katikam. That I wanted to emphasize. About the capacity of police and DPP. DPP, I think, has a lot of very commendable capacity. Police, I'm not so sure about it. It depends on what you're talking about with the capacity, because they have already said that they have good investigators. I also believe that there is an older crop of wonderful investigators that are in the police, that if the structural atmosphere of Uganda police was wonderful, they would operate, but such is the atmosphere in Uganda police right now that as good as you might be, you are not going to be allowed to do your work. There was a time when even the deputy IGP in police could not do much. Because at the top there was an army man and other DPCs would leapfrog people around the directors, go to him and so on and so forth. Then one of the deputy directors now is IGP. He's a figurehead. Under him, almost all directors except like two, the one of legal and human rights are civilians, but the rest are military guys who have very little knowledge about policing, civilian policing, or have to be reoriented and schooled from where to go. And these are the guys now calling the shots in police. So good people, competent investigators in police, lack an enabling atmosphere. It's not about capacity. It is the atmosphere. It's the militarism that is the core, that is the defining feature of the current regime, that stands between good policemen and the work they are capable of doing, and makes them mere appendages of Museveni's military dictatorship. Hence, they look at people who are dressed in red, in blue, not as citizens of this country, but as problems to be solved and whisked off the street, many times in a torturous condition. I have served clients whom police arrest when they are healthy, and they leave police when they are crippled, blind, bleeding, and hospitalized. That's very unfortunate from Uganda police, and it's not isolated as police propagandists will tell you. It's a norm.
So are these tortures that you are alleging, are they by police?
I'm not alleging. We have judgments confirming that these tortures have happened. We have sometimes police statements pretending that these are isolated incidents, yet we know they are not isolated. Yeah, so the capacity of police must be looked at from the context in which it operates, and The police of today has been co-opted, compromised, and usurped by the military of the day. From their training, some of them in the cavalry, the training is no longer police. Most of it is militaristic. The commanders are mostly military people, and even when they are not military people, they are commanded not just by police, but by CMI, ISO, and other military guys. So that now police thinks that they are subservient to military men when they meet them, even just mere guards on the road. That it has gone to that level. Yet in a working democracy, in a working state, and I'm not pretending that Uganda is a working democracy, but the ideal should be that once a military man sees police, they should even be the ones saluting. They should defer to their guidance.
Yeah.
So we have a real crisis in policing in Uganda, if we are to be very honest with ourselves, because of the political climate that is soiled and because of the militarism that underpins the governance of this country. As for the DPP, it cannot be different because DPP is supposed to direct police, but you're directing an institution that has been compromised, co-opted, and deliberately undermined to stop it from doing its work of protecting people's property to sustaining a regime that many people think is even illegitimate. So now who will DPP work with? You know, DPP is supposed to direct investigations. So DPP has a capacity at a technical level. For the numbers, I can't disagree. The numbers we could do with more policemen, but I want policemen. I don't want military men in a police uniform.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Then, of course, as you wrap up these gruesome murders, I don't know. How do you analyze them in your own view?
Those ones are complicated because they are differentiated. There is some level of criminality not necessarily resulting into death. For example, northern bypass, not the expressway, but the northern bypass. If you're passing there late, you're likely to have your windscreen and so on and so forth. I've seen friends. And then there is this attempt on like Wamala, Kawesi, Chirumera. It is a special breed of insecurity that Kagezi from DPP. I think there are some fights within the NRM regime, or people call it deep state, call it mafia. You can call it whatever you want. And then they are quick to blame ADF. But remember that that one is a bit tricky and intriguing, but it's at that level. So much so that a big guy at some point may feel less secure than an ordinary guy. For example, when you go to hotels, do you see big people? Or it's just mid-dock? There is a certain level. Even Joseph here, I don't see him in big hotels.
I can't afford it.
You see? He said, I can't afford it.
That's a joke.
No, the NRA guys actually genuinely think we can't afford it for the reason that they captured the state, took over the military, took over the economy, and through corruption, they have actually done it and they've entrenched it. So they think we are modest. But we are modest simply because we did not come to steal and break up this nation state. That is why we are. But for that, I want to be prepared and simply say that the future we shall keep on doing so that the resources of this country are not wealth to take me to go into Kampala in Apollo Hotel, which has been sold to some dubious guys in town, and I go there and find this middle guy. They really boast. For me, I'm absolutely fine that Uganda's resources, we will secure them, but for your children, not for free individuals.
So it's just like one hotel which you will go. I think it's Serena Chego, where you will see big guys, and mostly will be at night.
So
you get to me? So the thing is, there is so much insecurity. Even at his level, senior police officers, there are few who are willing to work with a uniform and be in some public places. Very few. They have to go home, change into plane, and talk with colleagues in shorts. That's a problem. So, but there is also a level, to be honest, in which the NRM has peace at a superficial level of no war. I mean, NRM has done something at that level.
After we helped them end the war in northern Uganda.
So-
Because there was a war for 16 years. And it was very brutal war in the north. Actually, war of genocide, 16 years. So to contextualize no war, it should be about what's happening at the moment. Yeah.
Because I think I remember around 2014, I could drive at 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. to Kasese, even be stopped, and I said, no, I'm a lawyer, I'm going to preside it. And so there are some things they have done, but going with his definition, there is a writer who said it's not absence of war, it is the presence of justice. It would just sum up that. So whether that kind of peace is here.
Afande, still, I want to borrow from the words of counsel here is that police tortures citizens and police is
Asking the
compromised.
first question, do you fear your uniform?
Police is compromised, and high profile citizens and high profile people in this country no longer feel secure. Then I'm asking myself, if a high profile citizen with all this security around them feels insecure, then what should an ordinary citizen like me feel?
Well, I have to make quite some allegations there about Kabale, how we are trained by the military. No, it's not true. Kabale is particularly a police training school, and it's police officers that that do the training. Yes, we have some modules where we invite some of our colleagues from sister security agencies who are more qualified in the particular kind of field, of course, given also their portfolios to lecture to us. But quite a lot of modules, which of course I might not come and mention, but the actual training is actually done by the police officers. The commandant is a police officer. Yes, we do have some joint trainings, but that is after the initial training, which of course takes you from being a civilian to a police officer. But later on, we can do some joint trainings like in Chankwanzi and other areas in Gaddafi and others. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that the initial trainings were done by the army officers.
So, sorry, what would be the benefit of training police officers in Gaddafi? So, what's the message?
There are benefits. I think there are some modules which are handled on that side that are not handled in.
Like what?
But
It
really,
doesn't benefit you.
no.
That is what I can say.
This propaganda thing, you should stop
Yeah.
it. You tell us what they do.
No, but I think
These are propaganda things.
Captain,
Joseph has every right. Joseph has every right to
Excuse
ask
me.
and
I'm actually
Excuse me.
helping this conversation.
Joseph has
me.
every right to ask.
Excuse me.
and
I was
not.
doing an MBA, and military officers came to teach us strategy, because strategy came from the military. So let us not be deceived.
Military
what-
strategy.
Yes,
So
military
military strategy.
strategy started in the military.
Military strategy.
Yeah, and we were doing.
Not all.
No,
Also,
we
It's
were
a
doing
whole
strategy.
conversation that can take the whole day.
It took a long time.
Maybe
In fact, it took 1 week for that strategy. And they bring people even from the army to
But
tell
all I
us.
know is that we share.
So that's not, we should not disturb him. Let him finish.
No. Luke is a public officer.
He is.
Yeah, but let
he
him
is.
finish.
No.
all I'm saying-
With absolute respect. Luke is a public officer.
Yes, he is.
Whatever is happening in the country is a very big thing. Luke has come, he's paid to come and do this thing, and he's paid to talk to the citizens of this country. I think we are really helping because we care about this country. All of us care about this country.
Yeah.
Okay? So we are helping Luke to answer to the citizens so that we calm down situation in this
A
country.
moderator, I would like him to finish before we ask
There
him.
is an element of politicking
Let
in this
him
country.
finish.
Yeah, there's an element of politicking. There are people in NRA who don't want to come to terms with the mess in which this country has come. And it's very sad.
That's media terrorism. You speak.
Yes, Afande. Yeah.
This is media terrorism. They want to make him fail to speak.
No.
Don't do that.
Conversation for the whole day. But maybe next time I'll come up with the modules and maybe taking you through them. But it is not something that we hide. When we are graduating, you will see police officers dressed in their uniforms and army officers dressed in their uniforms. And they are officiated by the president himself. So this is not something that we hide. And I don't think there is anything illegal about that.
So is your training of late tilting more towards the military?
No, it
than-
is strictly
It is-
because at the end of the day, what makes up the work of the police is what he has been talking about.
Yeah.
The capacity to investigate cases and have and work with the DPP for prosecution. And that is our emphasis. Yes, the other aspect of strategy and ideology, these are ideology training that started in Chankwazi that are being now co-opted in what? In the police. We also need that ideological training. I don't think there is anyone who doesn't need that. There are people in public service doing that. Why shouldn't police do that kind of training with the army? They are doing it in Chankwazi. And we all know lecturers in Chankwazi are more of army officers. So the other issue, of course,
torturing of citizens that council talks about.
Council was very sure about what he's talking about. He has also informed me that they have judgments to confirm the allegations of torture, and that is something that I can deny. There are judgments that have been made public here and there, where some people have come out to allege that they were tortured by police, and the judges make these judgments. And at the end of the day, compensations are made. The officers are taken through the criminal kind of court procedure on those allegations. It is not something that we can come out and hide that some officers don't do that. Yes, there are people who complain about torture, and if investigations happen and they are found to be guilty, they are taken on by the courts of law. But that has never been in the core of doing police work, that whoever is arrested should be tortured. And maybe where we could differentiate the allegations of torture is the manner of arrest, because in most cases, even when we are doing arrests, some people brand it as torture. Because if I've come to arrest you and I face resistance, the procedures of arrest also inform me that I can use any other means, reasonable force to have you arrested. So the reasonable force might become tear gas, which I might use, and it will make someone blind, like you were saying. The reasonable force might be me using a baton, which in most cases might cause someone to limp, like he said, but it has never been to stab someone or shoot someone. If those are done, then that has gone overboard and needs to be investigated.
I think his concern is the level of zeal and the force that you use, even when the conditions don't seem to be.
Are you sure they don't seem to be? Have you ever been in such a situation?
No, prima facie, from what we see.
Even I cannot say it. They don't, because the arrest.
Okay, take an example of the woman MPs.
You see, the officers that are actually engaging those people, the commander and the officers that are one-on-one with the people they arrest, they are the one supposed to determine reasonable force, not us, the spectators, to determine reasonable force. It is the officers that are actually there in the field doing the arrest. They are the ones supposed to see, was this reasonable or not. Then, after the incident happens, we put it to the table, look at both sides. What are they saying? What is the officer saying? What is the evidence that is seen? Before you saw a police officer pushing a woman in the van by the head, there were some punches which were, and you can imagine someone putting on sneakers on a gomisi, and in the hand they're holding a high-heeled shoe, which they are using to hit the officers. I don't know whether most of you saw this. Why would you put on sneakers? You're already putting on shoes, and in the hand you're putting on a high-heeled shoe. So it means these people, probably their minds were already, they had a premeditated mind that they are ready to fight, and they are already ready to engage the officers. And that's how the whole situation turned, what I would say, what people are calling violent. But there is a whole, we have all these videos, like you are saying, we have people who do we have also learned our lessons. We might not be on the level of having body cams, because I think they're quite expensive. There are a few specialized units, especially during these operations, overt and covert operations, who put on those body cams. But we have tried at least to work with our officers who can be in the crowd of the media, and also taking all these pictures and videos, which of course will enable us, and also the professional standards unit, to investigate in case there is any allegation against the officers. Yes.
Then, just before I let you go, Afandi, on this, is that when you look at our national budget, security and defense gets a very good fair share. Someone would imagine that we'd have a functional CID.
But that is the mistake you make. Defense and defense and what?
And security.
Security, those are totally different things. We are not under defense and security.
Okay,
our budget is totally different.
My point is the capacity of the police to investigate all these murder cases. I don't think you've come to a logical conclusion.
Can I just help there, actually? Interesting. This is a fair point. Actually, that's what I was hinting on much earlier. And that's why I'm a bit disappointed when we sometimes misunderstand these things and go crazy on some of the politicizing process. Part of my campaign, Luke, has been officially, and up to your top bosses know that I actually campaign, and as a chair of UPC campaign, that we need to be able to equip and resource the policing. And so Luke is right, that thus far, the police does not yet get commensurate, resources relative and comparative to the other agencies. Yeah. So we need to be able to enhance police budget in the broader sense, including part of what Captain Babu was talking about, the numbers, the training, and the capacities. And part of my insinuations and suggestions were actually that we would rather more of those resources are poured towards police resources, and you're quite right, to build police intelligence, police capacity, to make sure that they become the genuine, not only investigating force, but actually the main primary law enforcement agencies. Because at the end of the day, by and large, relative security, as we're talking about, really men in uniform and women that we want to see, and they're very smart guys, by the way, would rather we see policemen and women in the streets of our major towns rather than soldiers. And soldiers are sons, including in my family. We've got soldiers, and they're fantastic guys. But their jobs are clearly defined. And even if it is the case that people want to go, to use some funny excuse of 60 years ago, what happened, it's no justification that today we should not be saying that, look, this is the Uganda we want. But certainly the Uganda we want to see going forward is one in which Luke, when he becomes the Inspector General of Police, God willing, in future, is managing and leading a police force which is like this, a civilian, people-driven police force.
Fair enough. Yeah. Afande, as I conclude with you, is that the issue of investigating and reaching a logical conclusion of these particular murder cases, of these high-profile individuals, and if you look at Joan Kagezi, she was murdered in 2015. Up to date, there is no logical conclusion around her murder and who was behind it and things like that. The Honorable Abiriga, 2017, 18, around there, still up to date. So I don't know. Is it an issue of capacity of the CID to investigate? And I don't know.
Yeah, it is not. It is not about. Well, it could be part of that, but ideally, you can have leads that might not yield into something because of many other reasons. Maybe because the people you're interested in probably because of different reasons. Anyway, I would not say that the failure for police to investigate has left us with no clues and arrests in these cases of Abiriga and Joan Kagezi. Actually, I think the case of Abiriga is one that we have, and we always put this in our annual report. We have never made any arrest, not even having any person you suspect. Those are the cases that are still under investigation, but with no leads, I would say.
7 years down the road.
Yeah, this is not something that we hide. We always put it out there. But that doesn't mean that the CID lacks capacity. Maybe they have failed to land on the leads. First of all, the scene of crime at Abiriga's, the scene of crime at where Abiriga was gunned down from was totally messed up by members of the public, because I'm told he was someone the community loved a lot, and the fact that he was killed in the town, in the center of the town he was staying in, a lot of people gathered at the scene of crime and a lot of evidence was lost. Of course, we made an arrest of the person who made a phone call in the area and dropped the phone, but we later on realized it was because maybe of the stampede, and this person dropped the phone and they were released. So there are a lot of things, there are a lot of cases where we have not been successful, but that doesn't mean that we lack the capacity. Yes, we might not be having enough resources, but we can never fail to have resources to investigate a case of Abiriga or Joan Kagezi. And the officers are there, well equipped, knowledgeable, they have been trained, but there are other reasons why we have not been successful, but not the aspect of the resources or our officers are not capable. There are other reasons which I might not get into.
Okay. Captain, as we take a short commercial break, the question is that are these criminal gangs and groups too organized for our institutions to investigate and to bring to book?
Not really. I've got a feeling we are.
Are they too sophisticated?
No, we are jumping the gun all the time. Uganda today, all over the world, remains an area where terrorism is part of our problem. And starting with what happened in the rugby club or the Ethiopian restaurant, and people who have been arrested. And people should not tell you that ADF does not exist. I've been hearing this nonsense for some time. But even the American government recognizes that ADF is one of those terrorist organizations supported by the same group that supports Al-Shabaab. So when you sit there and say there is no terrorism, you are not helping. So, country summary. There remains a threat of terrorism attacks in Uganda and throughout the region. Terrorist attack occurred in several villages in western Uganda in December 2022. There were multiple bombings in around Kampala 2021. Now, these are there. So you cannot say they are not there. And who do they attack? Now, the other day, I was very happy when the president said he's worried about the investigation teams that we have. And now let me turn now to the problems that we have in our security organization. First of all, the setup. The police is under the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The Ministry of Defense is by itself. Other security agencies have a Ministry of Security. All right? These are different. Now, all those groups have to sit down. The National Security Committee, where the president is the chairman. These people have to decide on the security of our country. Now, with all these in the country, one has to sit down and say, what does the National Security Committee think? What are our problems? And I'm happy the other day the president himself said there was something wrong within our investigative regimes, our groups, and so on and so forth. Even said there was a little bit of corruption in there. Now, these have to be investigated. We want to know the truth. Is the president saying it because he's got the wrong information, or is it true? We have the same problem within the police. Police has got different departments. There is a tendency to group police by people who have gone to demonstrate. No, we have traffic police. We have terrorist police. We have drug enforcement agency. We have different groups in the police, and I'm sure he will give us a different directorates. So people have a tendency, because we've had a small demonstration and there was a scuffle between the demonstrators and the police, that has been where people pay their decision. It's unfortunate that police sometimes uses extra, what they call it, the excessive force. That one is there. Nobody has said, there is no police in the world. I've never heard of a police that doesn't use excessive force. My friend was in Britain today, many years ago when I was training in Oxford, the bobbies used to have a baton. Nowadays they have a machine gun, the short ones, which look like Uzi, in the villages. So time has changed. Security of a country changes. All I am saying, I do not disagree with anybody that said there are some people in the police who have misused their authority here and there. I am not refusing that one. But I'm also not refusing, I'm not now going to say that this is what we should do, because the police, we need to find out how to sort out that problem. It's a problem within the police. And therefore, when we talk about a policeman, that he fears to come in with his uniform, that is also over-exaggeration. I've seen policemen at night in their uniform when they have come to quell a problem. That one I don't agree with. Now, the whole point is this. I'm not saying there are no problems within the security organizations, even within the army. Remember, because of the problems we've had in the country, we have a lot of people who are in these armies who have been put off and they are veterans. They have no jobs. In Kampala here, they went and took certain areas and said this is a veteran market. They are using force. We have veterans who are now civilians, who are surviving in one way or the other. Now, these are people who are there. And people don't want to talk about this. We have, in town here, we have more than 4,000 people, homeless people, who live in those buildings. Nobody talks about this. You see, we tend to pretend as if nothing is happening. There's a lot of things happening in this town. Now, let me go to the real fact. You belong to a certain party. Tomorrow you say, next week, Museveni is out. We are going to demonstrate and get him out. What do you expect Museveni to say? What's his reaction? And then you pay people to go and demonstrate when they are drunk, they have taken weed, they have taken everything. How do you handle that kind of situation? People don't talk about this. We have a tendency to pretend the demonstrator is an angel, the policeman is a Satan. That is not true.
But
there are people, these organizations,
people with weed should just be harassed.
No, these people who have been sent to create a scene unknown.
What's your concern?
No, I mean, he's saying like people with weed should just be harassed because they have
I did not
weed.
say that.
Yeah.
I did not say
People
that.
who are drunk
I want
should not demonstrate.
I want you
Is
to
that the
quote what
point?
I say. They are given these things.
Are they in their proper state of mind?
The key thing is not
Are
whether
they
they
of
are
sound mind
they are even
in that point of
intoxicated.
time?
Even mad people should peacefully demonstrating have a constitutional right to do so. It's not just for sober people, for brilliant people, for guys, for lecturers from Makerere. No, anyone can demonstrate peacefully. The benchmark is whether you're peaceful or not.
After
Not
you-
whether you're
Listen,
If you
after you
drunk,
have won the
then
government, that
you
next
can
week
pose
you
a
are
threat
going.
to other
No,
citizens.
in fact,
Therefore, it's peaceful.
some people perform better when they are drunk, and I don't get drunk. Let me make this very clear. There are people who perform better when they are intoxicated, whether with a drink, alcohol, whiskey, whatever, or with weed.
Is Doctor Who?
You get me?
This
Doctor-
is cancer. This is cancer.
No, because it's now talking about something technical. Please expound. Expound your medical expertise on people who are drunk, who don't misbehave.
Yes, and people here want to stigmatize drink. Like people don't end up in the cabinet. People make cabinet decisions when drunk in this country.
I don't know them. I was
People
in cabinet.
make laws
I was
when
in
they are
cabinet.
drunk.
I never saw anybody
Get me?
drunk.
Let's not
That is your
make
cabinet,
this-
not mine.
No, I mean
That is
Uganda
your cabinet. No.
Are you sure?
Parliament of
No.
Uganda. Yes, I'm sure.
Parliament, I don't know,
You
but
get me?
cabinet,
But the key
I've never
thing,
seen
let's
anybody
not
drunk.
digress. The point of demonstration, whether police should come in or not, is as long as demonstrators are peaceful. There is no point for police coming in. The duty of policemen in demonstration is to keep law and order, is to keep peace, is to give security to demonstrators and not cause insecurity to the demonstrations. So that people should not harass the demonstrators. The problem is that our police is the greatest threat to peaceful demonstrations in this country.
Excuse me.
I've seen.
That's the problem.
I've seen situations where someone will announce they are going to make sure that, like the way he put it, Uganda, and then they will say, we have all aspects of intelligence pushing to a group of people who are not going to have a peaceful demonstration. Yes. And then you find another group saying that they are going to have a peaceful demonstration. So you have a group of people who are saying they are going to have a peaceful demonstration, and then others who are willing to do anything to have their views heard or whatever.
And you see, that's why I want to come in. I will not even wait for him to finish. You see, the
You know,
problem with
excuse
police-
me, what I'm worried about, why is it that I'm not allowed to finish my... When he was talking, I didn't disturb him.
Police have intelligence that there is a threat,
This
a
liar-
witness, a demonstration. You get me? Police have an intelligence information that the peaceful demonstrators, me and Joseph, who are going on Kampala Street around the Uganda House where they like, we are going to be beaten by NRM hooligans Police has intelligence. Instead of arresting the hooligans, you get me? They want to stop the demonstrators. You see, the people doing the legal work, the lawful thing, are the demonstrators. The criminals who are going to cause havoc, whom they have known,
that
they are not going to
doesn't
step.
tell you is that aren't these people the same? Because you might find they are the same.
No, why does it matter? Why don't you separate the chief from the wheat?
You cannot separate them.
Excuse me.
Captain, I will.
This is all.
Captain,
This is
I'll
all
give you
what
time.
they do to stop a good debate, and they are trained to do that. These
No,
lawyers,
I'm not trying
these
to-
lawyers. I got something yesterday. We said in the world who are the
not a
biggest
lawyer.
liars. There are two: the lawyer and the politicians. There are two people who tell us. Now let us go to the reality.
I am a politician.
That's
and
right.
I'm a UPC politician.
Good.
And I don't do media terrorism.
he has admitted.
I tell the truth.
He has
I'm a
admitted.
politician. And by that I take exception
has
to the
admitted.
idea that, because I know there's something in NRA that the leaders in NRA after 40 years need to have some sense of humility and begin to take responsibility and take some very serious observations coming from some of the things that Aaron's saying. Part of the problem with Museveni, they came in with a pack of lies. The thing has caught up with them. Instead of having a sense of humility, when I come here normally, I come to try and create context and balance. Now, the problem with guys in NRA is that because they told so much lies, Museveni told lies to the extent that just the other day, he thought guns were equipment for missile, Now it has been propagated, it is here. So every other time you try and raise a context, and I find it very difficult, and Captain Babu is right to talk about debate. I debate at fairly high levels. Then when you put issues of debate, and you put a context, there is this violation simply because we mentioned UPC or comparison, or we want to unearth the NRMS, either in Luwero, their foundation, or their case of Chankwanzi is not fitting in. To call this conversation in civic space in the media terrorism is actually to undermine the credibility of this organization. And I find it extremely sad that it should be that when you want to try and bring the truth, because I don't know what it was. What NRA guys don't want is a conversation debate about the truth. And in part of what Aaron is saying, look, I've actually had some of this conversation with some senior colleagues of yours, that when you get intelligence, that a demonstration is likely to go bad, you use intelligence to check these guys. You don't stop the debate. Granted, it would even be very, very, very good for you. If UPC guys are going to go to reclaim Kolo airstrip, for example, which Museveni has turned his other special office for extended parliament, we've got a right to go down there. But if we go down there, double your numbers of enforcers so that you capture those three terrible, big-headed UPC guys who want to cause evidence, cause problems. Have the confidence, sue them, and maybe next time you will expose the Ochianos that last time you said this, it did not happen. Because actually I led a series of demonstrations in UK over several years, and this idea that you go to
in Hyde Park Corner.
And many other places, including one for Nelson Mandela, another one exposing Museveni and this terror in the Luwero and other terrors in northern Uganda. So I did that many times, many times. And many of them I did very successful, to the extent that actually British police, you ring them and you tell them that you want to go. Say, Joseph, how many people do you expect? And then you tell them 40, 50, 60. And many times you go, and maybe 20 people turn up because some of them, whatever, for whatever reason, They can, you expect 60 people. They're planning to come and enable the process. And final point on policing, Luke, the future Uganda police that a UPC government would like to see happening. In one in which merely discharge of firearms, Luke, by our police officers are investigated. So the question about UK police being excessively armed it's neither here nor there. When firearms, Captain Babu, you think, you guys, NRA guys think they're experts in all the information, things like that.
No,
And
you're the one who's a criminologist
Time has caught up with you guys.
You did criminology.
No, you're making it very simple.
So it's telling you how criminology should operate.
Mzee, with respect,
This is wrong.
Mzee, with respect, you're making it very simplistic.
No, I'm not.
I was actually trying to say that, look, discharge of firearms is usually followed by an investigation by police complaints authority. Now, these are aspirations we want to build for our country on the basis of the foundation of our history, difficult history, possibly 66, possibly 79, possibly 1983, Luwero, whatever kind of stuff. But this is where we are. What lessons can we learn, fellow citizens? What lessons can we learn so that we're able to build foundation? So normally when I talk to Luke, it's it sometimes almost stretches to mini patronizing to my uncle. What is it? We want to build a possibility in which we learn lessons going forward. So for guys who always want to play Mr. Right, they play Mr. Right. The mess that has happened in insecurity in this country, it's not enough for this conversation. And I wish it was Mr. Museveni, not Captain Babu, who is here for me to have a conversation with him. Because actually I'll put the guy on the spot and Mr. Museveni will go for a retreat for 2 weeks because the facts will be too bitter for him. Unmasking the what do they call it? What's the mastered lies.
Captain.
His problem is Museveni. My problem is Uganda. There's a difference. Museveni is a passing fancy. There's a country called Uganda.
So he is the one being simple.
He is very simple. He always dreams of Museveni. He never speaks without ending with Museveni. He never speaks without ending with NRA, which is no longer.
NRA is actually Museveni and NRA are the biggest national problems.
Okay.
No. Look, we are talking national security. Museveni has been in charge of this country for the last 40 years. So pretend that Museveni is not at the helm of it under NRA regime, which has been militarized, is simplistic.
All right. So, Captain.
Thank you very much. I keep telling you the problem is a sickness called Museveni. It's a bug. Nobody can speak without Museveni. Let's talk about Uganda. Let's talk about Uganda. Let's talk about our mistakes. There are mistakes. I'm not refusing. Even Museveni has made mistakes. Even other people within the regime have made mistakes. Even those who have gone. By the way, there's no opposition party that did not start in NRM. They all started in NRM.
Even UPC.
UPC is the one which started NRM.
Absolute nonsense. That's
the other way around.
No, that's not true. Captain, let me
go ahead.
No, please leave UPC out of your mess with NRM. Please do. And I'm saying so as a leader in UPC.
No, this guy never allows me to speak when I talk about that.
Carry on, sir.
Never. Let me tell you, people should not tell. Uganda has had problems from 1962 when we got independence, and before that from 1948 when we had a problem with the federalism of East Africa, and so on and so forth. I don't want to go into that. That will be another day. Let's talk about Uganda. Uganda has had its problems. One person is in, the other person removes him. They're all brothers. He keeps on saying, oh, UPC. Majority of the people in NRA came from UPC.
It's fair enough.
I want to sign. They should never tell you lies. In fact, the habits are UPC.
Could you maybe mention just...
Oh, no, there's no need to mention people's names. You go and do your homework. I want to tell you, the young men who ran and went to join the NRA, all of them were former UPC youth wingers, and some of them had been UPC in their intelligence system. So when you talk about Uganda, you want us to talk, we shall talk from there and come on building and tell you Uganda has had a problem from the time of when we got independence up to now, and those problems, they are metaphosing, what do they call it?
Metaphosing, yeah.
Metaphosing into other things. These are things that we've been with. In 1962, we got independence. We got independence after the British did not want somebody from the Catholic Church to stay as Prime Minister. They went to Kenya and brought their boss and put him there in UNC. They divided UNC, they got UPC and UNC. They killed UNC. If they want me to say these things, I will say them. And that's how we started. Baganda, we made a very big mistake for refusing East African Federation, because that was the cause of dividing all those parties before we got independence. That's how they formed Kabaka Yeka, because their boss went to Bamunanika and knelt before the king in a council, and he was given the whole of Buganda 21 members of parliament. These things are known.
That is contextually not true. The 21 came after
why
elections.
Don't you like me to say my thing? You are saying yours. Go and check it. It's historical. Immediately in 1962, they went to parliament. These guys went around, gave everybody money. They crossed the floor. The DP2 was supposed to be in the opposition. That was the end of multi-parties that day. Multi-parties were not killed by anybody. They were killed by the government then. And people should stop telling you lies. And me, as an observer, young person, I hated both political parties.
It's not surprising then.
Yes, you better know where my hate comes from.
You see?
From the minute they crossed the floor, you know what they did? They made the leader of the opposition the Minister of Internal Affairs, and they started kicking our butt. In 1964, they fought for the lost counties, killed people from Nankurabye all the way up to Namungona. I saw that with my eyes. I saw the one in Ruby with my eyes. I saw the shooting of the president with my own eyes. I was then in Nairobi, came here for a holiday, and that day he was shot in Lugogo.
Were you investigated?
Huh? Sorry?
Were you investigated? Because the day you came here...
No, I was here as a Ugandan.
We can't rule you out.
No. You're talking trash now. I'm talking about being a Ugandan. I was here, and that day the man was shot, and I'm telling you what happened at that time. And this is the terrorism I keep telling you. Now, in 1960, from 1966, we've never had peace. We had a one-party state. We had common man's charter. We had all sorts of things. They didn't work. The same man who went for the gold scandal, who went to remove the Kabaka, it is the one who removed the government. Who the British had told these people not to have him in the army when we got independence. So the problems of army and this country did not start today.
They have just worsened.
They kept on coming. You know, he was not born yet. He kept on coming and coming. He did not see anything. He's just enjoying the rapport. Now, the whole point is from 1971, things got even worse because their cadre was in power. He drove us for 8 years. Other cadres of the same group came back and removed their cadre. You should never be told that these were different people. They were the same people. Even in Arusha, in Moshi conference, they were there, although their big man was not there, because Nyerere told him, you stay here, we shall deal with this afterwards. Anyway.
That's not true. Again, that's not true.
And anyway, you see, these guys think we don't know. We know. So what did this guy did? He sent his man. The biggest force that fought from Tanzania, Ugandan, was theirs.
That is true.
The other one was also trained. They accepted it. They were trained in Mozambique by their signature.
Frelimo.
Yeah, no. The other people who were called Fronasa, they were trained in Tanzania there. And he keeps on talking. These people came here, and their boss was recruited from here, a university student who believed in UPC at the time, joined the group. And the group came and they had problems with it. They removed them. So it's the same people removing each other. Time has come. A lot of people who have been dropped out all those armies up to now are becoming more and more, and some of them are old. And their children, some of them have joined the army and they have come out. So a lot of these things should be investigated clearly. What we have now is a group came, brought a system, and then in 2005, I think we started the multi-parties again. When we started the multi-parties, did we start them on the right order? No. Some guy in parliament, the NRC, they started the young parliamentarian association. They started PAFO. They started Reform Agenda. Some of them went outside, formed a party. Others remained in the NRM. Others went and formed other parties quietly. So, UPC, of course, has always been around, you know. We move with them. They are
and we are the future,
never. Anyway, the whole point is these parties are the biggest problems we're having in this country. Multi-parties has completely failed because the people who started the multi-parties did not want them. They started them to please funders. So these nice laws we are talking about, I don't know what, there's human intelligence. You cannot claim that you are going to remove that man next week and you expect the other man not to react. No, there's bound to be a reaction. So what we need to do, we need a dialogue. We need to sit down and find out where we've gone wrong and how we can keep Uganda a better nation. A gentleman, sir, you've been there for a long time has come. And you talk nicely, not threatening him. Some people think that every day when you wake up, Museveni. When you talk, I end with Museveni. I end with Museveni. No. Find a solution where we can sit with these people and bring Uganda to the level where we want it. It cannot be brought there by itself. And it cannot be brought there by threats. It cannot be brought there by spinning or by intimidating others. No. It can be brought by sitting down and saying, which are these problems? And when you talk about Museveni, he's not alone. And I was very happy the other day, I listened to a man called General Sejusa saying, although we are keeping quiet, but we are not stupid. Are you with me? We are keeping quiet, but we are not stupid. So everybody in Uganda who is in leadership needs to sit down and reflect. What do the Ugandans want? Not by threat, not by using force, not by talking with big voices, not by spinning. No. Spinning only annoys the others you can talk to. You need to bring them and talk. We need to find ways. And nobody will do it. Not the British, not the Americans, they will not do it. It has to come from us. I don't know how we can do it right now, because I've heard of the elders trying to bring it about. I've heard of the church trying to bring it out with the Islamic group. I've heard all sorts of people who want to bring this thing. Now, that I think is much more a mature way of approach. The other one, which is to use a force, which in my opinion might not work at this time, we should reconsider and find a better way of doing it.
But you are not allowing alternative means of expressing these ideas you're talking about. You can't have dialogue with people you are tear gassing, people you don't even want to go on the streets. Where are you going to meet them?
Well, that is the one of the points we have to talk about. You're sending an agenda. You're now setting the agenda. We have this group. This is what happened. We have another group. This is what happened. And this becomes part of the agenda to speak with the people. Now, we need to get everybody in there so that we can talk about this. I'm not going to go into this argument of gas and what no gas. No. How do we solve the problem he's talked about? It's one of the problems in the dialogue. So, expression. How do you give your expression? How do we find which is the better method of bringing your expression? There are many ways of saying something. I can say this glass is half full or is half empty. One sounds better than the other. Which one are we talking about? So I think time has come, and I told you, I'm not for any of these individuals, including the president and everybody. I want to talk about Uganda. How do we bring Uganda to where we want it to be? How do we respect our professionals? How do we find solutions to simple problems? You are all talking about the police. How about the man in a completely regalia of a party using a hammer on the head of a woman? How about the one who bans the police post? How about the one who accosts a magistrate? These things are happening. These are things we should discuss. So you cannot pretend it's only one side. The story is two-way. How do we get? I know why they are doing it. They are usually, if you use force, maybe the guy can calm down. But the guy, the more I use force, it looks like that is his libido. He becomes even tougher. Yes, I've got to be frank. Ugandans are not finding solution to the problem. They are creating more problems. And it is there that now we must sit and say, wait a minute. How do we go about it? Mr. Museveni, where do we go? But the President Museveni is good people he listens to, but who are they? Let's talk to those people. Bring him across. Because when he said we have iPod, for example, iPod, our friends go there. Other friends go there. Others said we will not go there. That was, I was hoping that would be another.
What difference did those who go there make?
Let me finish. I thought that was an area, where everybody was coming on board. And one thing I liked, when one of the groups said, but we want Museveni here, Museveni turned up. Now, that was another way of starting talking. They didn't want it. Some people did not attend. Okay, if that one failed.
But it should make a difference, those who go and those who don't.
No. But one of them became a minister. Now,
that's not a difference.
No, you asked me the difference. I'm not that shallow to know what is going on. What I'm trying to say, we need to find platforms where we can talk. Like here we have talked. Everybody has heard what the other one had to say. We need to get a group that can sit down and talk and find out. By the way, You might be surprised. Whilst we are looking at the president of this country, he might also have a few regrets. He's human. I want to give him the benefit of doubt that he can come and sit and we talk. The question is who can make him come and sit and we talk.
I think
That's the question.
Let's begin from there after this short commercial break. We are due for a break, and the viewers, thank you for making a time with us, and we hope that you're learning something from this. But above all, stay on the show and see you shortly after this.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
We'll be back from that short commercial break. Council, let me just begin with you as we wrap this up in 20 minutes. Is national reconciliation and dialogue something that this country needs?
Yes, absolutely. It is necessary. It is possible, but it's unlikely. So we need it because that's how nations heal. That's how society is really civilized. We will have to find an alternative to the use of force as a remedy for disputes. We cannot have us cracking small nuts with sledgehammers. We need to talk to each other. We need to debate. We need even to allow, I don't even allow people that they must only speak in diplomatic language. There must be place for Ugandans even to abuse each other and still go home. You get me? So that people don't have to resort to guns and knives to settle disputes. That was in the olden age. So we need it. It's a necessary dialogue because if people don't vent out their anger in speech, it is much safer for people to abuse each other, sweat and what, and then go to court, civil process, go to the media. That is a civilized way of. It can be ugly, but it is civilized. The alternative is what we are seeing on the streets of Khartoum. Two generals from, for example, NRM, they cause the havoc for the rest of us. The alternative is worse. So dialogue. It might be ugly, but it is always superior to the alternative. So yes, this is necessary. And that is also related to rule of law. That's why when you have rule of law, when you respect people's human rights, when you allow media freedom of expression, you build a condition whereby dialogue is possible. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Afande, police and, in your honest opinion, what do you think is the biggest challenge that Uganda police is facing?
Well, there are quite many, but most of our challenges are known by the public. Many of them have been mentioned there. Issues to do with having more police officers. But we are working more on improving the remuneration slowly, and career growth also. Most officers have issues when they work and are not promoted. There's something also that baffles their mind, and I think that most of those are supported by the budget, because public service will not allow promotions to happen if they don't have money to pay, because the rank comes with more money and more responsibilities. So I think they all revolve around the budget, and also working on our police community relations. is something that is very important. We have tried as much as possible to be in constant communication with the public. I think police is one of the institutions that is always in constant communication. Even when we are accused of doing something, we don't shy away. We come and explain what exactly is happening and what we know about it. So making sure the public know the works of the police, our mandate, and their mandate is something that is also very important. We think with that, most of our challenges will go down if we have the support of members of the public.
Yeah, then second is that the incident of a bodyguard, of course, from what we see and what we know, he belongs to a sister security organ, which is the UPDF. And issues that were being mentioned around were partly around perhaps his mental health status was not, was not catered for, if I'm to say. I don't know, how do we find ourselves having people who are supposed to protect their principles then now becoming a threat to them? I don't know. Is it that bad?
It is true. I'm not an expert in issues to do with mental health, but I believe it is a challenge most Ugandans are having. It might not be the army or the police. We have our challenges. We have seen most of our officers some of our officers commit suicide because of maybe you have stopped him from having a pass leave to go back home, maybe as an issue at home, and because there is a certain bureaucracy which is necessary most cases in the force that maybe might cause them to commit some of these atrocities against themselves and to others. I think as a country we need to put up a collective, I don't know, on issues of mental health. It is a challenge, and it is not something that we should ignore. And it is not something we should ignore on the side of Sabit. Maybe it was stress, maybe it was a premeditated thing. You can't know.
Yeah.
So it's not like he left a note or something. All we have are allegations, members of the public, which the UPDF has come out to say are actually false. He was receiving his salary and on time. Maybe we have seen people saying maybe he had an issue with the family and was not helped out. So a lot of allegations here and there, but and we shouldn't skip the issue of mental health. It is very important, and I think most institutions need to focus on that too.
Yeah, and it is a cross-cutting issue. Joseph, let's speak about the role of media in either spying or regulating or diffusing conflict.
Before you go, can I give you just one information?
Sure.
I was reading the coronation in England, and a camera guy of TV went around to try and take a picture of the king, and the king saw him. The guy was taken out of that place with his leg 5 feet up in the air, and they threw him out. So media also has limits.
Yeah. So let's speak to the media personality here. Joseph, I don't know, the role of media in like I said, spying or regulating violence and conflict. What role does the media play?
It's a big word. You say spying. What exactly do you mean by that?
No, like spying, like how should I call it? Like adding, catalyzing, if I'm to call it. Catalyzing or diffusing.
About
yes.
Holding accountability.
No, because
putting focus on issues. Because even Luke is interested in this.
With the way media reports on issues, plays a very big role on how the public responds.
That's true.
So, do you think, for example, there is authenticity and there is there are ethics with the way media reports, or it is biased reporting, and there are times make the police appear, bad, and yet they're actually not. So, something like that. The role of media
I think if you're talking about then we could as well broaden it from insecurity services. But first I want to say very, very quickly, one, that I had a very tokenistic, very symbolic mini breakfast equivalent this morning with the police guys around my place. Not in response, but I would normally do that with their unit led by their chief. Possibly even to some of them, sometimes some of the surprise, but of course, some of us are lucky we get spotted, meaning lucky in that sense. And unfortunately, does it mean therefore there's an influence of how then you get treatment? So when we bring out these things, we bring it genuinely because we want and to see improvements for these guys, just like in other professions. But of course, then we know that these guys' jobs are big. But number two, as I said, I know we're coming to close of this. I want to repeat some of the questions you asked, Luke. The welfare of the police services is a big issue. And as the captain has suggested, yes, we need to be looking at mobilizing more resources as we take resources to education, we take resources to health, we take resources to infrastructure, we take resources to agriculture. We definitely need to take more resources to law enforcement. And law enforcement should be about policing, police and policing. And we need to be able to amplify their voices, meaning therefore major national security issues, unless really is a major terrorist thing, it should really be the police-led, including in terms of communication with the public. So therefore, bringing in nearer to the public. The more that is done, the more the police, which is one of the biggest challenges, is perception that police are anti-people. Look, these are things that you guys need to work on very much. Police are opposed to anti-people. Police are ruthless. The early conversation, you saw where it was going. Part of it is basically some of the information responsible trying to give you opportunity to raise the issues that I know out there, including people whom we chat with, ask questions, what is it? So unless, as you said, you're doing relatively well compared to others in terms of engaging the population, in terms of giving optimum information, if you leave questions and doubts, perception matters. If the perception, therefore, is that you're brutal, perception is that you're serving a particular interest, perception that you're highly politicized, perception that you're substantially militarized, and there is a perception that you're serving an interest of the state rather than that of the citizens, then it will be a big issue. I think where is the media? The media, in most cases, generally, and Uganda's media have been very critical. They're not necessarily the top notch. Again, I work with guys in the media to support them, generally. They're not necessarily yet top notch, including some of the ethical issues. But generally, the media will report what they see. Generally, there are some ethical issues in terms of some of the things that you find mainstream media do, including exposing of fatalities that really should really be detrimental to the consumers of these, sometimes conducting themselves in a manner in which perhaps it might be detrimental to investigations by police authorities, in this case, in terms of crime scenes, how these things are handled. It could be that. Generally, the media will report, particularly when it comes to national security issues, what is a reality out there. I happen to also have links and conversations with the editors. There's actually so much that in my opinion, are in public interest, but actually they choose not to report or to bring out in public domain, partly because of self-censorship, in which case sometimes to the extreme, but partly maybe merely fear, but partly maybe they think they're playing, sensible, responsible objectivity, fearing maybe a backlash from one of the other parties. How much in this case the media gets cooperation from security services, Luke, whether it's the police or the other agencies or the state, in order for them to do what basically their job as the fourth estate, not only also to help hold you guys to account, but to help synthesize and critique and sync so that the information that they provide, whatever they deliver in terms of dissemination, is fair, equitable, commiserate and objective, for the purposes of the broader citizens. I think also the media house still have a lot of work to do as far as their roles are concerned, particularly in policing. It could in security, in reporting security. I would actually say that at the same time, with some of the questions that has been raised, that maybe in many cases, even perhaps the reporting politics, that they themselves, their media houses and there's some media units and their media personalities that people raise concerns that they're not as objective as they should be, either on the extreme of one side of the debate or the other. But again, that is how much we're able to invest in our institutions, and it's possibly really work in progress.
All right, Captain. Lastly, how can we reconcile this country?
Very simple. This country is not together. When the British came here, he put nationalities together. They went to Berlin and they got a pencil and they put a ring around it. That became Uganda. Some of it was taken in 1902, which was part of Naivasha. One of the kings gave us Kigezi, the other one gave us West Nile. In 1963, when we got the African Union, they said we shall respect those borders, and that's the end of Uganda. Uganda had nationalities put together. We need to unite Uganda. Number one, Uganda must be united. And united seriously, like what Mzee Mwalimu Julius Nyerere did in Tanzania. We must find something that can put us together. That's number one. Once our people are together, the cultures that we have in Uganda, and we got a common cultures, we create a Uganda value. A Uganda value which will now give us a good police force, a good army, because people will now have character. We have a problem with character in this country. And we try to copy the Western world. We have utopian thinking, how a country should look like. From 1960 to now, the state of affairs of our people has completely changed. We have terrorism, we have crimes of unbelievable nature. Did you know that television and these phones that we carry is creating things in people's mind, and people we're having with problem with crimes? I was telling a police officer that in the villages, we now have little houses where they are showing video, and all the youth come there and they're watching video from India, from where, and they're getting new habits. They're losing their character. Our culture has been deteriorating over the years. The policeman has a problem even talking to some of these people. Now you talk about the police. Police is management. It requires good management right from the top to the bottom. We need the welfare. But here is the situation. These people who have been entering government from 1960, when they had 3,000 policemen, we have 43,000 in the same area. And it's growing. So the country is moving faster than the way we can, follow. We are running behind the country, moving by itself. In other, the country is moving on autopilot, and for us, we are behind, running after it. So we need to quickly think how we can help. First of all, the management. We are very poor in management as a country, starting from the top. All our problems in all these organizations is management. So when you talk about welfare, when you talk about budget, now management, I'm talking about having a good budget, balancing the budget. What is economics? Yeah, managing scarce resources. Now, this needs good managers. This resources are scarce. What are you selling? People keep saying we have money here. Where? What are you selling to bring in money as a country? How many people are you taxing? Does this country really have the money? They tell you they have a budget of 48 trillion, and the one they can get their hands on is 23 trillion. Where's the 25 coming from? Now they are telling you it's going to be 52. Then you tell people, now, when you remain with 23 trillion, assuming that you're going to get it, 17 trillion goes in debts, because the money you get from that money must first go to the debts. The next one is the salaries. Where is the money? So when people talk, we have to be very clear that we need to bring this country together. We need to understand what we have. We need to respect each other. This nonsense of accusing each other, you're bad, you're good, it's not going to help us. Yes, sir. Can you please change? Can we do this? Now, I'm very happy that we've talked a lot about politics. We went to the Western world, we borrowed something called multi-parties. We have never been able to use it. When we go into multi-parties, each one of us gets panga and something and wants to kill the other one in the other party. We've never understood how to run these parties. The parties become alpha and omega of certain people. That one we also must sit down and say, wait a minute, can we run parties? Is it supposed to be war? Even the people who started the parties, they don't understand them. Look at our friends in some countries. I don't want to mention people's countries, it's not fair. But they also have their own problems. Now we've got to resolve our problem starting from where I said, we've got to unite our people. We've got to tell them what we need to do. Now, my brother, Julius, Dr. Kambarage Julius Nyerere, used the word ujamaa. Ujamaa did not mean the philosophy of communism, as people were saying. It meant brotherhood. And how we can work with the brotherhood to improve our economy and our country. Then he used the other one, which was the language, Swahili. Tanzania was not speaking Swahili, all of it. It was mainly on the coast, from Zanzibar to the coast, a little bit of Dodoma area where they have that road going to Kigoma. The people in Moshi did not know how to speak Swahili, even in Bukoba. But over the years, they have managed to bring it on board. So we need to sit down and get these things together. Nobody is bad in this country.
A uniting factor.
Nobody is bad in this country. It's only those who pretend that they are dividing this country. Those are failures. And they have failed. And they know it. We don't want to divide this country. We don't want to call each other names. We want to create a population that wants this country to move forward. That's all.
Thank you very much. Council, your last words, just in 30 seconds as I move back. Just your last words.
Yeah.
Can be a goodbye or something.
Yeah, I say goodbye, but I also say that we need the rule of law in this country, and that will be our real anchor for development and the only guarantor for peace.
I want to add on something on that one.
Yes.
Without order, the rule of law will not work. We need that order from uniting the people so that we can get order, then the rule of law can work.
Otherwise, it will be a castle built on a wetland.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's rule of law that brings order.
Okay. Yes. Fandy.
Well, I thank you for hosting me. And of course, the security is always on the mouth of everyone. I don't think we have ever missed a day without being on the mouth of every person in the country, because we are a very important aspect in our communities, and having a police that is all around and capable of solving the challenges that the day-to-day people are facing is our mission, and we are hopeful that we shall get there. Amidst a lot of challenges, and the challenges also the challenges we are faced with today. Maybe in the future we shall be faced with other challenges. We know we shall overcome the challenges that we are faced with currently, with time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Congressman.
Yes, when I returned from NRA exile, one of my major press conferences, actually it was in May 2005, I formally asked for a National Truth and Reconciliation commission in this country, and the intention was basically to do many of these things, to push for national dialogue and everything else. And the idea was that it was possible for us to have a new beginning in this country, and that new beginning in this country will have to be possible only when all of us are open and we tell the truth, and that we tell the truth across the board. That is important, in my opinion. It's very urgent. On the question of policing, I think, and security generally, these guys need to be supported. These guys need to be equipped. These guys need to be budget enhanced. That said, these guys need to be held accountable. I think when the police officers exceed their mandates, they need to go through due process of the law. I would like to see the police officers in future, when a police officer is charged firearms, just like any other person who holds firearms, is held to account and held responsible. I want to see a situation in which, if the police officers are accused of torture, they're not only held to account, but perhaps where the mitigation, basically the end result is actually possibly a dismissal. There's a story going on in the UK media where two police officers were dismissed basically for, I think, for mistreating a minor, a 14-year-old. You know, that's the thing. And so the more we're able to do these things in a manner in which everybody knows its consequences, you know, the more likely we're going to end up with a society which is stable, a country which has got rule of law and order. In fact, part of my campaign around and the political processes is that in future we also have a country in which people who commit political crimes, maybe they're barred by the law not to participate in public offices. For instance, people who commit electoral fraud, things like that they're barred from holding public offices. Those things happen in some other countries. These are lessons we can learn from our country, learn from others, but setting up mitigating circumstances under which we're able to make sure that there's a policy in which in future your children and my grandchildren can live in a country in which they've got lessons from the past, however bad, or some not so good, you know, but a possibility that they can compete with the rest of the world in which there's mobile phones and there is high tech and there is high-speed trains, and that people can say that we created and manufactured mobile phones, but that actually is advance of technology, because countries are growing very fast and going very far ahead. We don't want a situation in which Uganda's children in 20 years' time are playing second-class fiddle to Rwanda's children or perhaps Gabonese.
Well, yes, Captain, you have the last words.
Culture is going to help us a lot. That's where values come from. Culture, that is where we learn to be modest, we learn to have humility. And our culture, by the way, in this country, from the little bit I have looked at, I have not done a research, but I wish if somebody could do research, they have common things among them. And the other one we learn from school, where we go, first of all, we go to our religion, then we go to school, and we pick up some of these things. And most of these things we get from our culture and everything. If they are put together and they are taught, we can get a character which will be able to listen to the things that people talk about. And there's another point, not all laws are written. People give rule of law, these are written laws, but there are laws which are there, silent, which are known. I gave an example the other day. If I lived on a flat, and I was going to have a Friday night bash with a lot of music, it would be courteous for me to tell all my flatmates that I'm having a party in my place. I'll be making some noise. There's no law on that one.
It's
that
there,
is out
actually.
of courtesy.
No, there is a law for that. But even with unwritten law, it should be fair to all. That's a concept of rule of law.
Yeah, I agree. What I'm trying to say is that there's some things which are, and we need to know that there are certain things are done out of courtesy, out of respect of each other, and a lot of things. So a lot of, when my friends who are in this position, rule of law, they forget order. We need order.
You cannot
If you have order
without rule of law.
No. We have had order before those rules of your law. In Britain, by the way, they don't even have a written constitution.
There is a rule of law in Britain.
Yeah, they've made a lot of statutory instruments. What I'm trying to say is that even before we came making these laws which you're talking about, people existed and they had order. The Romans had an order in fact, today the military and
the Romans had law.
Yeah. But you see, this business of law, these lawyers, they think that law is everything. It is not. It is not. There is humanity, my friend. We are the human. We are the ones who make the law. We are the ones who break it. We are the ones who change it. So stop this law everywhere. Let's have character. Let us have Ugandans respect each other. And when they do that, you bring in a law, for example, you say, if we are going to a bank, first come, first serve, they will all go in the line. This is integrity. And some of the people you keep telling law, they don't even understand what you're talking about. So we need to know how we can get our people to have a bit of humility, a little bit of character, and then we bring our values, which everybody should respect. And when we do that, lawyers, I'm sorry, you'll lose a little bit of money if we all become orderly. You will not have enough jobs to do.
No, it's actually the chaos that we lose, actually. It's the chaos.
When we become orderly.
There is no legal practice in Somalia, Sudan, Wharton, DRC, whatever. So for us, actually, we survive on order, on rule of law, because the two work together. Yeah, once there is no order, we are out of fashion. In fact, lawyers had better work.
The Islamic law works in Somalia. It works everywhere. My friend, they have got their law. So Captain, let us not.
1 minute, Captain.
Even a primitive tribe, which is not following, they've got rules. A man, a woman, a family, they have got rules.
Conventions.
Yes. So all I'm trying to say is let us try and build our society. and everything will fall into place once we manage to put ourselves together. All these problems you are hearing about he was talking about something which he didn't come out very well. He was talking about the welfare of people who commit suicide if they are not given permission to do this, if they are not given a promotion, if they are not given that. This is human nature.
Yeah, the mental health.
And they even have this in universities. They have it in Japan. It's a very big thing in Japan. All I'm trying to say is we can get better management to improve this welfare so that we can have fair distribution of everything in the country. But I think we can do it. One thing that I'm saying, we are 45 million. There are people who can be leaders. There are people who can change this country. And there are people who have got the ability to do so. Not these ones who would like to fighting. No, sit down and we find a solution.
Wow, thank you very much, retired captain and of course Congressman, Afanda and Council. Thank you for spending time to be on this week's episode of the Citizens Chat Show. Well, to the viewers, it's always a pleasure having you every single Friday. And that is it. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.